All right, guys, let's jump into our next case. This is actually a cold case out of Coos County, specifically Coos Bay, and this is the case of Jonathan Peters, whose remains were discovered on Sumner Lane in 2006. So Jonathan originally lived in Idaho with his family. That's where all his family was from. But in October of 2005, Jonathan and his friend Brian moved from Idaho to Eureka, California. Now, a couple months after moving there, they both came up here to Coos Bay in order to help a friend with his landscaping business. It's been reported that his friend was sick and just needed some help running this business. On January 27th of 2006, Jonathan's mother, Debbie, who's pictured here, who was back in Idaho, Debbie received a phone call from his friend Brian saying that he was very concerned that Jonathan was acting very erratic, is the words that they use, that he was acting erratic. And when Debbie said, put Jonathan on the phone, he said, well, Jonathan stepped out. And then the call had ended. Debbie was trying to call back the phone number to talk to Brian or Jonathan and couldn't get through until almost 3 hours later. When Debbie was finally able to reach one of them, she was able to reach Brian. And Brian said that he had reported Jonathan missing to law enforcement and that he was heading back to California. Now, Debbie and her daughter Anna had traveled back and forth from Idaho to Oregon, hanging up flyers, talking to law enforcement, just doing their own searches. And it's been reported that they didn't feel like they got much support from law enforcement. And then in July of that same year, 2006, Debbie had received a call that some utility workers that were working on a gas line discovered the remains of Jonathan just about 150 yards from where he was last seen at that residence on Sumner Lane. Now, it does say that the autopsy revealed that Jonathan died from multiple sharp force injuries resulting from homicidal violence. In 2007, the Oregon State Police did take over the investigation, and they just said that they didn't have enough evidence, that they had a person of interest, but not enough evidence to bring up any charges. It was quoted in online articles that they needed somebody to come forward and either say that they saw it, that they heard something very specific, or a confession. And then, in September of 2007, about a year later, his mom, Debbie, finally gets his remains. He's able to be laid to rest in Idaho at a family plot. And tragically, just 13 months later, his sister ended her own life. It was reported that his sister Anna did park her vehicle near the cemetery and ended her own life in the vehicle. She did leave a note saying that she was just in so much pain and she just wanted to be with her brother. This is just one of those cases where I'm like, somebody in this county knows, multiple people probably know. So if you know anything about this case, this family has been through so much and his mother needs answers, needs closure. So if you know anything about the circumstances around Jonathan Peters, please call the Oregon State Police Department, and there is a $20,000 reward if you have any information that leads to an arrest and a conviction.